Hi, it's Chrissy here with another tutorial for the Photography for Beginners editing group. Morgan today asked about how to lighten eyes. I believe it was Morgan. How to brighten eyes in a subject, and also about levels. So I'm going to try and answer about levels. I don't really know all the technical jargon about them. I do know how to use them. Uh, why they're there, I don't really know. Anyway, I'll do my best on that one. But as far as brightening eyes go, I can help with that for sure. And I'm going to actually show you this in both Lightroom and Photoshop. So I brought in this little blue-eyed boy that I had in my studio this week. I'm going to use my adjustment brush. So when you click it, your adjustment brush window pops up. I can set everything from the temperature and the tint, exposure, highlights and shadows, clarity and dehaze. And down at the bottom, I can choose the size, although I find it easier to use the bracket keys on my keyboard. Feather will allow me to decide how hard or soft I want that brush. Flow is like opacity, so it will let me pick how strong or how dense I want the effect to be. And it even has an eraser, and that comes in handy. I'll show you that as well. So for selecting the eyes, I want a hard-edged brush because I want to keep it within the eye. I don't want it to have too much of a taper off. So I'll pick my brush size here. And you can choose your settings for your brush either before or after you paint on your effect. It is always good to have something selected for settings so that you can see where you painted. So here I have just a little bit of exposure boost on this brush. And that just lets me see where I'm painting. So there we go. I've selected the eyes, and now I can go in and really tweak the adjustments here. Right, so I'll increase the exposure. Also, I'm going to really throw in the clarity and a bit of haze as well. Clarity is, it's almost like a contrast button for the midtones, I believe. So it brings in a lot of the shadow and depth. The dehaze as well. So these eyes have a lot more punch than they did originally. I will click on my eraser, and I'm going to come here and I'm just going to erase off where my brush went outside the line there. I think that looks pretty good. So if I click this toggle switch, you can see the before and the after. The eyes are a lot brighter for sure. I try not to go too far overboard because I don't want it to look fake at all. Now, if I wanted to lighten just in general the entire eye area, perhaps I got a bit of shadowing when you took the picture, I would just again use an adjustment brush for that as well. So I'll click new brush, and 0.5 is probably where I would want the exposure on that one. For this I want maximum feather and a good sized brush. The feather will just hide the edges of where I'm applying this. And there. That's it for that. So now I can pop on over to Photoshop where I've got the exact same image, and for this selection there's a million ways to select things in Photoshop. It really just depends on what you're used to or what way you find the easiest. For this one I think I'm just going to actually use this thing here, which is it's sort of a masking brush, and it just takes your paintbrush and makes it paint red, and that's going to actually mask off the eyes, which is the opposite of what I want to do. But what I can do is just invert that once I've done this part. So I'm just going to paint over the eyes. There we go. And I'll click the icon over here again to turn it into my mask. And then I'm just going to go to select and inverse. And now everything but the eyes is masked off. And you can see if I try to paint on anything out here, it's not working. If I go over the eyes, it works. So I'm just going to undo that. Now here's where the levels will come in handy. So they're in mode, adjustment, levels. Basically it shows you the blacks, the whites, and the midtones for this setting, which is RGB, which is everything. Also I can look at the red channel, the green channel, and the blue channel. So I'm just going to leave it on everything here. You can see my whites and my midtones are way out in the nothing area. This is actually just a histogram. So I'm going to bring everything back in to the histogram. And then I'm just going to start tweaking with them here. So my blacks, I mean, you want your black to look black. It doesn't have to be pitch black, but your black should be black. And your whites should be white. And then we'll just adjust the shadows until we get something that we're happy with. And I'll just bring the whites out a little bit more. I don't want to go overboard with this effect. And it's not going to look identical to how it did in Lightroom, but hopefully I'll have it close. Here we go, like so. So that's how I would adjust it in the levels. You can always go into exposure if you wanted to just brighten it up without adjusting the levels. Just give it a little bump there. Here we go. So now this edit was not as easy, and I don't like the end result quite as much as I do in the Lightroom version, which gives me a much more natural look. And that could be because I'm not as used to doing these kinds of edit in Photoshop as I am in Lightroom. Um, but that's more or less a much brighter eye. So now I'll just deselect my selection, and there we go. So again, it's a nice look, but it isn't as attractive as the Lightroom version. And that's why, as much as I love Photoshop, I will always have Lightroom on my computer, because there are some edits that I do that I can just do faster and better in Lightroom than I can in Photoshop. Um, and one of the questions that we get asked a lot is, which program do you want? And I can never answer that really. I can't pick one over the other because they both do what they do extremely well, but there are areas where I need one program and there are areas where I need the other, and I just couldn't operate if I didn't have both of them on my computer. But I mean, his eyes still look adorable here. It's not as realistic, but I mean, sometimes you're not really going for realistic anyway. So I hope that that answered questions on brightening up the eyes. I'm not sure if I really demystified levels. There's a lot to this tiny little window that I could go into. And I think that's probably its own tutorial video for another time when it's not 1:30 in the morning. I really have to stop making these videos in the middle of the night. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that it helps you figure out how to brighten the eyes on your subjects for your portraits. As always, thank you very much for watching. I'm really happy with the number of people that are watching the videos and commenting on the videos and giving me suggestions for videos. It's been a lot of fun for me, so thank you very much. I hope you guys all have a great night. Bye-bye.